Mufasa serves as a prequel to the live-action remake of The Lion King. In this installment, Rafiki narrates the origin story of Mufasa to a young cub named Kira. This new baby cub will be told a story that has defined her family. This will be a spoiler-free review. But before we get into the review, I wanted to tell you guys right now, I am doing a giveaway of $100. All you need to do is subscribe and like the video. A random subscriber will be chosen once I hit 100 subscribers and will be sent the money. Make sure to try your luck. Reflecting on Disney's previous live-action adaptation of The Lion King, which grossed over $1 billion, it seems the general audience found it acceptable. After all, it's challenging to ruin such a beloved story. However, many film enthusiasts, myself included, felt it fell short, lacking the emotional depth that resonated in the original. Iconic scenes that once left a lasting impact felt awkward in this version. Given its financial success, it was clear Disney would continue to capitalize on the Lion King franchise. I was surprised to learn that Barry Jenkins, an Oscar-winning director known for Moonlight, would helm Mufasa. His previous works don't align with the style of the Lion King, which made this choice intriguing. I approached Mufasa with an open mind and a hint of excitement, as it presents an original narrative rather than a mere remake. There hasn't been a 2D animated film focusing on Mufasa's origins, making this a fresh take. I believe this is the right path for Disney, moving away from simply rehashing classics with updated visuals. Now that you understand my perspective going into Mufasa, having seen the film, I can say it's decent. I'll delve into both its strengths and weaknesses. To begin with the positives, if you appreciated the live-action adaptation of The Lion King and enjoyed Disney's storytelling approach, you'll likely find Mufasa to be a delightful experience. In fact, I do think this movie is better than the live-action Lion King. One of the key improvements is the expressiveness of the animals. Their emotions are palpable, unlike the lifeless, intimidating creatures that merely stared at the audience in the previous film. Characters are engaging, and with a beloved figure like Mufasa, it's essential to handle the portrayal with care. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was notably absent from this year's Moana 2, seems to have dedicated his talents to crafting the songs for Mufasa. The musical numbers here are quite enjoyable. While none reach the iconic status of the original Lion King soundtrack, an impressive feat for any animated film, there are several catchy tunes that resonated with me on the first listen, a sentiment I couldn't share about Moana 2. I also don't think there's anything overly bad about this movie. It's just trying to tell you a semi-heartwarming tale of Mufasa. Although you know how his story concludes, the film takes its time to introduce other significant characters and offers subtle nods to the audience, enriching the experience for devoted fans of The Lion King. This exploration of backstory and connections to the original film can be quite rewarding. However, moving on to my mixed negative impressions, there are aspects that I believe detract from the overall experience. While I wouldn't label this movie as bad, but it is really riding that line of being just a fine movie that one could describe as meh. So, one of the primary issues is that while I appreciate the choice to create an original narrative and explore uncharted territory, the origin story of Mufasa unfolds in a way that is highly predictable. It's not just that we know he will eventually ascend to the throne. Every plot twist and narrative development is so obvious that it detracts from the experience, given the necessary setup for The Lion King. For instance, once the storyline introduces Mufasa as being adopted into a family with a brother named Taka, it becomes clear where the narrative is headed. Yet the film attempts to present this as a significant twist, which ultimately feels underwhelming. You will feel the length of Mufasa. The movie comes close to 2 hours long, but it feels a little bit longer than that. That length is only made more excruciating because you can clearly see the plot that is being laid out. I also noticed some overused tropes in the portrayal of Mufasa and Taka. While I enjoyed the film's opening and the depiction of their brotherly relationship, complete with a catchy musical number, The conflict that arises between them felt abrupt and cliched, lacking genuine development. Additionally, the movie is filled with references and hints that foreshadow elements of The Lion King. Some viewers may find these nods to be somewhat cringeworthy, as they offer explanations for aspects of the Lion King lore that didn't necessarily require clarification. For example, the backstory of Pride Rock felt unnecessary. When that revelation occurred, I couldn't help but think, did that really need an origin story? They also are not subtle at all about the foreshadowing and future for Mufasa in the story. They repeat an iconic moment several times in this movie, going, oh, is this the moment? No, but in a couple of years, it'll be that moment. Initially, this felt charming and like a clever nod, but it eventually came off as excessive in its attempts to explain those hints. I have mixed feelings about how Mufasa's character is portrayed. He is meant to be a strong and determined figure with a noble presence, yet the film delves into his background in a way that feels off. They've made him overly humble, which detracts from the complexity of his character. While I appreciate that Mufasa isn't depicted as power-hungry or desperate to be king, the extent of his humility raises questions about whether this truly reflects the upbringing that shapes the Mufasa we know. There are numerous instances where he shies away from his royal destiny, even as the narrative pushes him toward it, which feels somewhat contradictory. It's not a major flaw, but it did make me think, I understand Mufasa is a good guy, but this portrayal might be overdoing it. Overall, these points don't ruin the film, but they also don't elevate it to anything remarkable. Fans of the original will likely find enjoyment in this version. If you're a devoted Lion King enthusiast, you'll likely appreciate it for what it is. However, for those questioning whether this was a worthwhile endeavor, it's clear that the Oscar-winning director put in effort, and while the result is watchable, it doesn't leave a lasting impression. So when it comes to Mufasa, I'm going to give an action 3 stars. The film features numerous animal combat scenes, including some intriguing albino lions that serve as unique antagonists. Definitely one of the more creative additions to the Lion King universe. In comedy, the humor is innocent and light, making it suitable for families. While it's not side-splitting, it has a certain charm that fits the film's tone. And drama storylines feels somewhat predictable. Many plot developments are easily anticipated by anyone familiar with the Lion King narrative, and the character arcs come off as cliched. I expected more depth, especially with an Oscar-winning director involved. In horror, 1 star. The sight of 2 large, roaring lions could easily frighten a child. In suspense. 2 stars. Due to its predictable elements, there's little suspense about what will happen next. Overall, I think the movie is worth watching, but I wouldn't say it's a must-see this holiday season. Renting it at home might be the best option. This is just my take on Mufasa. I know some passionate Lion King fans might disagree, claiming it's a cinematic triumph, and that's great. I believe it's an improvement over the previous Lion King film. It's decent, but it lacks the enchanting quality I was hoping for. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Mufasa if you've seen it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, I'm Andrew. Take care.